A few months ago, I did a video talking about the worst thing in every single Call of Duty Zombies map, and I thought I would do the same thing, but instead for the best thing about every single Call of Duty Zombies map, and this is including the non-Treyarch maps. The best thing about Nocturne and Toten is simply that it's the first map ever, so without this map we would never have gotten the wonderful maps to come later on. I really couldn't think of anything else to say about it. Verrucht had the amazing addition of perk machines, which ended up being one of the best features to ever be within COD Zombies, and it's one of the most important features. Shinonuma's high rounds is probably my favorite thing about it. I've never really been a big high round guy, but I feel like Shinonuma's high rounds, just because of how fast they are, particularly within the World at War version, it just makes it more enjoyable. You can get to like round 100 within maybe 2 hours. It's very, very simple, but it's also kind of fun. And something about the way this map flows in terms of the training for high rounds and stuff like that. It's really nice, and I like using the Wunderwaffe as well. Duriz is one of the most innovative maps of all time, with it adding the pack punch machine. That's easily one of the most important things in Zombies. I would say it's probably the #1 most important innovation that's ever happened. Some would argue that perk machines are the most important thing, but no. Having the ability to make every weapon more powerful is just so awesome, and immediately makes every map way more playable. Keynote to Toten's a map that I used to really love back in the day, but nowadays I consider it quite overrated. But I do love the Thunder Gun. I think it's definitely one of the coolest wonder weapons of all time, and it's definitely my favorite thing about Keynote to Toten. 5 is a map that I think is really only fun with a group of friends, but I really love the difficulty of this map. I think there's something really unique about it with how hard it actually is. It's probably one of the hardest maps of all time, and especially when you have a group of friends and you're just camping on the elevators and just going back and forth. It's really hard to get past even like round 40, 30 on this map. Like it's not that easy, and with a group of friends, it's a damn good time. Ascension was the first map to add PhD Flopper and Stamina Up, which in my opinion are two of some of my favorite perks ever. Stamina Up being one of the most useful perks, just making you faster obviously, is going to be not only just really convenient, but also really useful when you're training zombies. And then PhD Flopper is just one of the most fun perks, because not only do you have the awesome ability to flop off of, a staircase and just make this giant explosion, but you could also now effectively use explosive weapons without having to worry about constantly downing yourself with the explosive weapons. So easily one of the coolest perks, and it makes Ascension a lot more replayable, because going for the Mustangs and Sallies is just an amazing time. Call of the Dead is easily my favorite pre-Mob of the Dead map, and my favorite thing about it has to be George Romero as a boss zombie, and particularly in terms of the reward you get for killing George. Now, I always thought he, as a boss himself, was just really cool because he just follows you around the map the whole time. It makes camping a lot more difficult, even makes just training a lot more difficult. But if you want to actually take him out, which, yeah, it takes some time because you have to put a lot of bullets into him. Depending on your weapon, of course, it could be a little bit faster. Using the ray gun usually is the best method, or the death machine is also great. But if you do kill him, you get a free perk, and you also get a Wunderwaffe. And of course, only if you've done the Easter egg. If you haven't done the Easter egg yet, you just get a death machine. But the Wunderwaffe you get is just so cool, and it obviously has a limited ammo, and then when it runs out of ammo, you just can't use it anymore, and you have to kill him again to get the Wunderwaffe back. But I think it's a really cool reward, and it really makes it worth killing him. It's not like you're wasting your time for doing it. No, you actually get a pretty decent reward out of it, and also he's not there for like the next couple rounds. So that's really cool. Shangri-La was never one of my favorite maps, but I'm starting to like it a lot more as of recently, and I love the Baby Gun Wonder Weapon. It's easily one of the coolest wonder weapons of all time, easily one of the most unique ones, and definitely one of the best as well, so definitely the best part is Shang. Moon is, in my opinion, one of the most overrated maps of all time, but I will say one of my favorite things about it is the No Man's Land. I think it is such a cool idea, spawning in this area that just has a bunch of zombies running at you all at once, and the pack-a-punch is there, so you can try to get enough points in order to pack-a-punch right away if you'd like. It's just very difficult to do so, but it's a lot of fun just training around No Man's Land, trying to survive as long as possible. I think it's even more fun in the Black Ops 3 version of Moon, just because you can use the RK5 as well. It's obviously a lot easier because of that, but it's something really cool about this idea, and even though I don't like the map itself, No Man's Land is awesome. Transit's a very difficult map to actually find something good about it, but I would say the best thing about Transit is actually not even about the map itself, and instead it's about the fact that they took sections of Transit and turned them into survival maps. And I really wish more maps did this, because I think it's a really cool idea. But just having Transit at launch and that's it would have really sucked. I mean, it already sucked the way it was, but if it was just that, it would be even worse. But at least we had Bus Depot, Farm, and Town to mess around on. And of course, they also had Grief mode within those maps too. So you just had more things to do. I really did appreciate that. I thought that was really fun. But in general, I think just the idea of having like separate cutout survival maps of a bigger map is just a really cool idea that they should be utilizing more. For Nuketown, I'm just going to go with the M27. It's a pretty cool gun that only appears on Nuketown for some reason, so yeah, that's all I can really say for that. For Die Rise, I'd have to say the Solidifier is the best part of this map. It's definitely one of my favorite wonder weapons of all time. I love how easy it is to get to. You just got to build it real quick with the buildable parts, and you can pretty much get it every game, no problem. And then it ends up being one of the best wonder weapons ever. Unfortunately, there's no upgrade for it. There is a way to get the pre-patch version of it, which is even better, which kind of is an upgrade, I guess, in a sense. So I guess you can say there is an upgrade for it, but I do wish there was a more traditional, like, actual upgrade system for it. Maybe just some sort of side quest or just sticking it in Pack-a-Punch. That would be a lot cooler, but the weapon itself is awesome. Absolutely love it. Mob of the Dead is definitely one of the most innovative maps of all time. It being the first, like, Blundell era map is what a lot of people call it. And I think its best feature is definitely just the fact that it's so refreshing in how it feels as a zombies map. It's so cinematic. It's so different. Like, everything just feels so much larger and like there's more budget put into the map. It's hard to explain, but it's one of the reasons people love Mob of the Dead so much. And one of my personal favorite things that it does is that it's the first map in zombies history to have specific background themes, like background music, that plays depending on the area of the map you're in. So like certain areas of the map will play different themes in the background, and that just adds so much to the cinematic feel that Zombies has, and Zombies ends up going with for the rest. I mean, all the way up to like Black Ops 4, really. Even Cold War has some of it, but not nearly as much as like Black Ops 3, Black Ops 4 did. And Black Ops 2 is really where that started, and Mob of the Dead is like the main one that it started with. Buried has so many cool, unique features that make it one of the funnest maps of all time, but I have to say Leroy/Arthur is probably one of the best parts of it. Just having this big hunking guy that you can just kind of like take around the map, either using the booze or the candy, and you could have him do all sorts of different things like destroy debris in order to open up new areas, and you get points for that too. Or you can have him like put the mystery box in its place so it never moves, or you can have him build stuff for you, or you can have him take the mystery box and bring it to a specific location. You can have him hold a crawler, you can have him fight zombies. Like, there's just so many different things he can do, and I think he is so cool because of that. I would love to see a thing like this return in a future map, but we've really never seen anything close to it again, so really cool thing about Buried. My favorite thing about Origins is more of an idea rather than like an actual feature, and it's just the fact that this map has such a great progression in terms of difficulty and also in terms of the items you get as a player. I think it's such a well done map in terms of that, because the game is actually very hard in the beginning. Like, it's one of the hardest maps in the early rounds, but once you actually get set up, you get the ice staff, you get some perks, you get some good weapons, some pack-a-punch weapons, you end up being like unstoppable. There's just so many OP weapons to get on this map, so many OP things like the Thunder Punch, and the stabs obviously being some of the best wonder weapons in zombies history. You could also get the airstrike equipment. There's just so many cool things you can get, but the game itself was really hard leading up until that point, and the environment and the different boss zombies like the Panzer definitely make it a lot harder as well. And there's something just so good about how that progresses through the map. When you're just going through the map, you come across so many different pieces for the stabs, and you just slowly start earning each staff one by one. And it actually makes the Easter egg a lot of fun to do on this map. It doesn't sound like it should be a good Easter egg on paper, but in my opinion, just in the gameplay of it, I think it is really fun. Now, when we get to Advanced Warfare with Outbreak, I would just say the fact that this is the first non-Treyarch zombies map is probably my favorite thing about it. There's not really much else to say about it because I don't like Exo Zombies that much, but I at least appreciate other studios making zombies maps. I think that was a cool idea, and I was really excited when this first came out. And although it's not that great of a map, it's still cool to have a non-Treyarch map. Infection is easily one of the worst maps of all time, but I really do like the Goliath boss zombie that appears on this map. It's actually one of the coolest boss zombies in zombies history. I don't know, something about it, just the different equipment it has. It's a pretty fun boss to take on. Carrier has one of the coolest wonder weapons ever with the LZ Limbo. I love this thing. It's not like that powerful, especially when you get to higher rounds, but it's so cool, so unique. The way it like shoots a laser that's just completely horizontal and just like slices through a whole train of zombies, and it actually works really well with the zombie AI in this game, because the zombie AI in this game is just very spread out, which makes it so when you shoot this laser, it just like goes through a whole crowd almost perfectly. It's great. Descent was the first zombies map ever to have like an actual boss fight, and so I gotta give it credit for that. It wasn't even like an Easter egg boss fight, it was quite literally a boss fight built within the game. When you get to round 20, you get to fight the Oz boss fight, the giant Oz monster thing. And it's pretty cool. It's not the best boss fight ever, but for what it was, I was really excited to finally have some boss fights in zombies, and it has become kind of a staple in the later games. Now, getting into Black Ops 3, every single one of these maps has so many things that are incredible about them, so honestly, it's really hard to just find one specific thing. But for Shadows of Evil, I would have to say the map theme has got to be my favorite thing about it. I absolutely love the style, the aesthetic, the music. Everything just feels so amazing on this map. The personality is just so vibrant. And I mean, yeah, it's one of the coolest maps because of that. Drak is one of the best maps of all time. There are so many things I can say about this map, like the bows being really cool, for example, but I'm gonna have to say the Easter egg itself, the whole main Easter egg quest. It is definitely one of the best main Easter egg quests of all time, and I would say it's definitely the best part of this map. It is such a fantastic quest all around, so much fun. The boss fight's really cool. It has a couple of really cool puzzles, like the Simon Says stuff. And then, of course, you also have the step with the keepers, which you just have to use, you know, your bow 4 different times and get a bunch of kills in a circle. But when you're playing co-op with 4 people, it's a really damn cool step because everyone gets the chance to use their own bow. And I really love stuff like that in Easter eggs. So definitely one of the best Easter eggs, in my opinion, probably the best Easter egg of all time. Zetsubo is a really underrated map, but I have to say the plant system is probably my favorite thing about it. A lot of people don't like the plant system. They think it's too complicated, it's too much work, but you don't really have to use the plant system. It's a very optional feature, unless of course you're doing the main Easter egg, then obviously you have to use it for some of the main Easter egg steps, and obviously you also need to use it just a little bit in order to get the upgraded version of the KT4. But I love messing around with the plant system. There's so many little things you can make out of it. You can make the fruit plant, which can give you a free perk. You can make the plant that holds a crawler. You can make the plant that attacks zombies. You can make the plant that just gives you either weapons or power-ups. And you can also do different things with it in terms of shooting with the KT4. And, you know, you can use the different waters. It's just, there's so many unique things to do. And you can also get the clone plant out of that. It just adds so much replayability to the map. So gotta say, it's probably my favorite thing about it. Gorod Krovi has one of the best boss fights ever. And I think that's easily my favorite thing about this map. The Easter egg itself is really fun, but when you actually get to the boss fight itself, it is breathtaking. Getting to fight a damn dragon is just amazing. I never thought in a million years we would get to fight a dragon in Call of Duty Zombies, but the fact that we can do that is awesome. And then of course, that's not it. When you defeat the dragon, you now have to fight Nikolai in a giant robot mech suit. Like, again, it's just so cool. The Nikolai boss fight, you can definitely cheese with specific gobblegums. If you use like in plain sight, you can defeat it pretty quickly. But if you're not, you know, trying to cheese it, it is a pretty damn fun boss fight. So I gotta say, definitely the best thing about Gorod Krovi. Although Revelations is probably my least favorite map in Black Ops 3, it's still an incredible map, and I think the best thing about it has got to be the God Mask, or really just all the different masks on this map. So the mask system is something that actually started back in Shadows of Evil with the Margwa mask, and then you can also get the Panzer claw helmet thing on Drak. But then Gorod Krovi came around and had 3 different masks you can get, or I guess they're not really all masks because one of them's wings, but they're just these different things you can, you know, wear on yourself, and you can only use one at a time, and they give you different abilities. But Revelations took it a step further, where there was like over like 5 or 6 different masks on this map, one of which being the God Mask, which was really difficult to get. It took some time. You had to get a lot of different zombie kills of different boss zombies within the Apothecon itself, inside of like the little like area, the pond area in the middle of it, and while it's also filled with gas. And it's a very fun little quest to go for. And when you actually get the God Mask, it makes you so powerful. You are like basically indestructible. You have way more hits to take. You're even faster. There's just so many cool little things it does for you. And it makes the map so much more replayable. And even just trying out the other masks is really fun as well. So yeah, definitely the best thing about Rev. For Zombies in Spaceland, I could honestly say the whole damn map is the best thing about it, but to be honest, I would say just the fact that there's so many things to do on it is probably my favorite thing about it. Also, just all the 80s music that plays throughout the map, it's just so glorious. But in terms of just things to do, like you have the Neo Robot challenges, you have all the different wonder weapons you can go for. There's 5 different wonder weapons on the map. You have the ticket system where you can play a bunch of games in the arcade in order to get more tickets. You can also ride the roller coaster to get more tickets. There's so many cool traps that are like very unique and related to specific like actual, you know, rides. It's just such cool stuff with that. The bumper cars obviously is an example of a trap that's not really like a trap you activate yourself, but it kind of just drives by every time you come by it, and it can kill some zombies. There's also the main Easter egg. There's the Ghosts and Skulls Easter egg. there's just so many little things to mess around with on this map, and I think it makes it easily one of the most replayable maps of all time. I also love getting the exquisite like upgrade for your weapon. It's really, really cool. My favorite thing about Raven the Redwoods has got to be the slasher boss zombie. I do wish this guy appeared on the map more often. Unfortunately, he's only a part of the main Easter egg and also within the rave mode. And so if you play high rounds, you don't do the Easter egg, and you just never go into rave mode, you're never going to see this guy, which is a little unfortunate, but I do think he is a really cool boss because when you do go into rave mode, which you do have to for some of the Easter egg steps, he is really terrifying. Just seeing this guy come at you with a chainsaw and attack you, it's just so awesome. But yeah, I really, really love this map. Also, the music on it as well is really, really cool, just like with Spaceland. For Challenge Shuffle, I think the Katana Wonder Weapon is probably the coolest thing about this map, but I also love the 70s music that plays on it, just like the past two maps. Just having that music that's like specific to that era is just so awesome. And I also love that the music on this map is actually different depending on what part of the map you're in. For example, if you're in the bar, it plays like 70s rock music. If you're just out and about in the streets, it plays more so like jazz music. And then if you're in the club, the disco room, it plays, you know, more like kind of dance music. It's just so cool how it works like that. And then other areas of the map don't play any music at all. So absolutely love the theme of this map as well. I mean, all the, you know, Infinite Warfare maps have that where the themes are just really damn cool. But the Katana is definitely probably my actual favorite thing. I just wanted to also mention the music in these three maps because I feel like it's just hard not to mention it. For Attack of the Radioactive Thing, I'm going to also go with the map theme itself. There's not really that many gameplay related things about Attack of the Radioactive Thing that I feel like I want to even mention, but I love the whole monster movie theme this map has. It is so damn cool because it delivers that 1950s monster movie theme so perfectly. There's all that music that it plays in the map. There's obviously the actual monsters itself with the radioactive thing, which they call Krogzilla, I believe. And you have all the other little Krogs that spawn in on the map, all the different boss zombies. There's just so many cool, unique looking bosses on this map, and it makes for a really fun experience. I think this map is actually quite underrated. I don't think it's great, but it's definitely underrated. For the Beast from Beyond, I'm going to have to say Mephistopheles easily is the best thing about this map, which a lot of people say it's not even really like considered part of the map to them, which I don't really understand because it literally is part of the map. It's just you have to do the Easter egg once, then do all the Easter eggs again, and then leading up to this one, you have to do it after, you know, while you're already in Director's Cut, and that's how you try to defeat the Mephistopheles boss fight. And it is definitely the best boss fight in Zombies history. It is the hardest boss fight, and it is so much fun. It's very, very difficult, like I said, so obviously a lot of people don't like it because they know they're probably never going to beat it. But if you really put your mind to it, you really try hard, it is doable. And it's a lot of fun to try to learn. So I definitely recommend you guys try this out if you've never done it before. You could do it in the boss battles mode. You don't even have to actually play the map itself, but it is still technically part of the map. So definitely my favorite thing about Beast from Beyond. The best thing about the Final Reich has got to be the casual and hardcore Easter egg quests. I think this is one of the coolest things Zombies have ever done because I've always been complaining about how, you know, Easter eggs nowadays are just way too easy. And a lot of other people have been complaining about how, you know, difficult some Easter eggs were back in the day in like Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4. So the best thing here is just simply the fact that this map has an easy and a hard Easter egg. So if you want to play a very simplistic Easter egg that tells you exactly what to do, so you do not need a guide whatsoever in order to do it, you do the casual Easter egg. And if you want to play an Easter egg that's a lot more difficult, a lot more challenging, a lot more in-depth, that has a lot more steps to it, and also probably will require a guide, or at least it will require you to do a lot of searching around the map because it's not something that's very easy. It's not handed to you. The map has that as well. It's just such a cool thing, and I really wish more maps would do this. Groston House is probably my favorite survival map of all time, but my favorite thing about it has got to be the fact that you can get pack-a-punch weapons out of the mystery box by doing an Easter egg. I think it's so cool because, you know, obviously having a pack-a-punch machine is always great, just being able to take whatever weapons you get and put it in the pack-a-punch machine, but having a mystery box that just straight up gives you pack-a-punch weapons, and it's not really that hard to get it either, you just have to do a very simple quest in order to get it, is just so amazing because every time you hit it, you just try out a different weapon, and there's a lot of cool, unique weapons in World War II that do unique things when they're pack-a-punch, so it's a lot of fun to mess around with it on this map. My favorite thing about the Darkest Shore is actually a very tiny thing. It's this really cool animation during one of the Easter egg steps where there's like this guy that's strung up by all these chains and it just rips him apart. It's such a cool little moment. It's probably the most gory moment Call of Duty Zombies has ever had ever. Like it's so cool, but I don't know, just a very small thing that I really love about this map. For the Shadow Throne, I really love the focus on melee weapons on this map. There's like 3 really cool melee weapons you get during the Easter egg. And I don't know, it's really cool because I feel like Zombies doesn't really go that deep with melee weapons, and sometimes they'll throw in a melee weapon here or there. Obviously back in the day we had like the Bowie knife and the sickle and stuff, but this map just starts to do a lot more with having actual melee weapons that are actually really cool and unique, and they kind of work almost as wonder weapons in a sense. And I thought that was really cool. You know, obviously Infinite Warfare had some melee weapon wonder weapons like the katana, but this was just so much more to me, and I think it makes this map really, really interesting. For the Tortured Path, I don't really like the Tortured Path mode that much, but the fact that they were able to take the 3 different maps that were within the Tortured Path and turn them into survival maps was really, really cool. And I actually enjoy playing the survival map versions of these maps quite a bit. They're not like the most fun things ever. They're obviously not that replayable, but they're fine. I enjoy playing them from time to time, so definitely worth mentioning. For the Frozen Dawn, I think this is a really underrated map. My favorite thing about it has got to be all the different puzzles on the map. There's like 4 puzzles on this map throughout its Easter egg, and they're all really, really fun. Unfortunately, some of them are kind of annoying to do when zombies are hitting you, but if you're able to successfully get a crawler or just a slow zombie, or maybe you have a teammate who can hold a zombie, there are some really cool puzzles. The planet puzzle is definitely one of my favorites, where you have to match up the planets to the actual diagram. It's just a really fun little game where you have to kind of really use your mind to really, you know, visualize what that actual graph looks like and kind of like invert it for the actual physical planet machine itself. And there's the puzzle you have to do in order to upgrade the hammer. There's just a lot of cool different puzzles that I'm a big fan of personally. Voyage of Despair is probably one of the best looking maps of all time. There's just so much detail put into this to really make it feel authentic to the Titanic. I think that's definitely the best part about this map. 9 has one of my favorite Easter egg steps of all time with the Raw step. Now, if you guys don't know what the step is, it's like one of the earlier steps in the Easter egg where you have to essentially get locked into the Raw area of the map, and you have to kill specific boss zombies in order. And there's like 4 that you have to kill at a time. You have to do this twice, and you have to kill the right one each time without killing any of the other boss zombies. It's really cool. It's really interesting, just kind of like training around that area and trying to look for the specific boss zombies you need to kill next. It's really intense. It's actually quite challenging sometimes, just because if you have certain boss zombies, like for example the fire zombie, then it becomes a lot harder. There's so many bosses on this map as well, which a lot of people don't like that, but I think it works on 9 just fine. The map has enough room to the point where the bosses just kind of fit well together. It's not really that big of a deal. I don't know. A lot of people just get kind of mad when they see a lot of unique looking enemies, but none of them really ruin the flow of 9 for me, in my opinion. Blood of the Dead, I would say, probably has the best soundtrack of any Call of Duty Zombies map. I know that's definitely debatable, but I think it just definitely does. I mean, you got Mob of the Dead, where, you know, it has so much incredible music, and a lot of that music is reused in Blood of the Dead and kind of remixed, but they add so many more themes, so many more amazing pieces of music on Blood of the Dead, so definitely gotta be the best thing about it. For Classified, bringing back the Ultimus crew for the first time since Black Ops 1 was so incredible. I guess also, you know, obviously Zombies Chronicles brought back Ultimus crew, but when you're talking about new maps, this was the first time we had them since Black Ops 1, and I thought that was such a cool idea, and I thought it was brilliant by the developers and the writers to do this, and it was really fun just kind of hearing their banter back and forth on this map for the first time since 2011, which was awesome. There's so many cool things about Dead of the Night, but I gotta say, I absolutely love how many different side quests are on this map, and specifically with this map, there's the Steak Knife side quest where you can get this really amazing melee weapon that just demolishes all the different vampires, which is really useful just because obviously those guys can be kind of annoying, but this melee weapon just takes them out with ease. Then there's the quest to get the Savage Impaler, which is also a really good weapon against the vampires as well. So these are 2 different side quests you can do. Usually I like to do just one each game. I don't usually do both of them because all you need to do is one of them, and then the vampires are really no problem. You can easily take them out with these weapons. So really cool. There's a lot of other side quests on this map as well. It's a really fun, just filled with content map. For Ancient Evil, I gotta go with the wonder weapons. They are so amazing. You have these awesome gauntlets, and they all kind of go with a different god. There's the Hand of Gaia, there's the Hand of Hemera, there's the Hand of Orionos, and the Hand of Charon. And There's just so many fun things to do with these wonder weapons, especially with the double upgrade you can do. So you can upgrade them once by doing a really easy little side quest, but then you can actually upgrade them all together a second time. And there's this really fun quest you have to go on in order to do it. And I love doing it every time I play Ancient Evil because it's just a fun quest. It's really not complicated at all, but it's really rewarding because you get a lot more ammo on your wonder weapons and they're a bit more powerful. And yes, they are so much fun to use. For Alpha Omega, I'm going to say Rushmore is probably my favorite thing about this map, just having a bunch of different codes you can input into Rushmore. Now, obviously, the fact that you're never going to really know these without looking them up is kind of stupid, but it's not that hard to look up the actual codes for it. And I do have just a little cheat sheet that has every single code. So anytime I play this map, if I want any specific thing from Rushmore, I just have to put in the code and boom, you get something cool. You can get different power-ups, you can get different little rewards that kind of do similar things that other Gobblegums in the game already do, or I guess in Black Ops 4's case, elixirs. And there's also just other ones that are kind of just fun that were like, you can have Rushmore tell a joke, for example. It's just cool stuff like that I think makes this map have a lot more personality to it. For Togger Toten, I think this is one of the strongest story maps of all time. I don't love the gameplay on it, but I think in terms of the narrative, it's actually really fantastic. The way it wraps up the Ether story is actually quite brilliant. I despise the fact that it ended on, you know, those really weird looking cutscenes, but in general, in terms of what the actual narrative is, how the story ends, and the dialogue between the characters, it's all some of the strongest stuff Zombies has ever had. I know I give Cold War Zombies a lot of shit, but D Machine's high rounds is actually genuinely kind of fun, just because Cold War Zombies in general, like the high rounds is quite easy, which, I mean, that's not really necessarily like a great thing, but it does make it less annoying to play, I will say. I hate how easy the Easter eggs are in Cold War, but high rounds being a bit easier, sure, it's fine because now you can kind of just mess around with really any gun you want in the higher rounds and you're probably going to be just fine, whereas in most Zombies games, in the higher rounds, most guns become useless and you have to use the wonder weapons or traps. Whereas in Cold War, I feel like you can kind of use whatever you want. And D Machine, I think, does it in a very fun way where the map has a lot of different training spots, a lot of different camping spots. So going around, you know, the map, using your weapons, leveling them up, getting camos is actually quite enjoyable on the higher rounds for this map. For Firebase Z, I actually kind of like the special rounds that force you to do the timed defense objective. Now, I don't love it for like the higher rounds, but when it comes to like the first couple times you do it, I think it's pretty cool. Like when I first played the map and I was like told I have to go to the specific side of the map and defend it, I kind of like that. Like the whole zombie defense thing is something that I feel like they got to do more of in COD Zombies because it's actually the original reason for creating zombies. The original map, Nocturne Toten, was meant to be like a tower defense type of mode. So I always love when they do certain things that kind of call back to that. For example, Garad Crovey did that with the whole, you know, lockdown sequence at the house where you have to defend it from all the zombies coming to the house. And I think Firebase Z does a pretty good job of replicating that within these special rounds. So I think they're pretty cool, and then having the whole Orda boss fight, although not that great of a boss fight, it's still kind of cool. For Outbreak, I gotta say the first Easter egg with the Legion boss fight is definitely my favorite thing about it. I'm not a big fan of Outbreak. I don't think it's bad, but I'm not really that crazy about it. I think it definitely lacks personality, definitely lacks replay value. But that first Easter egg I thought was probably the best Easter egg in Cold War. It definitely has the most challenge to it. The Legion boss fight's definitely not that easy, but it's also not like that hard either when you compare it to other Zombies maps. But I do really enjoy it. I think it is a decent boss fight, and I think the Easter egg itself leading up to it within like all the bunker steps is actually kind of fun. For Malorder Toten, I'm going to go with the Valentina boss fight. It's probably my favorite boss fight in this game aside from Legion. And I don't know if it's really one of my favorite boss fights ever, but it's definitely up there. It's not like that difficult of a boss fight, but it's really cool in how it's executed with having you go around the map into 5 different places and just kind of taking on Valentina. They have a lot of different attacks, you know, shooting different like crystals at you, and they even have a attack similar to the attack that the Keeper has on Dreisendrach where it just wipes everyone out. So you definitely have to really run around the map and kind of get to cover if she ever decides to do that. But the music, especially in that boss fight, is really cool. So definitely my favorite thing about it. On Forsaken, I gotta say the Chrysalax wonder weapon is definitely my favorite thing about it. It is such a fun wonder weapon to use. It's so powerful. It's kind of OP in a lot of ways. It's probably one of the best wonder weapons ever, just because of how much damage you can do for like ever, and it has unlimited ammo. So you're basically just never gonna die with this thing. It's really hard to die with it, but it's just pretty cool. For Duran Fong and Terra Maldicta, I'm gonna put them both together because I don't really have anything specific to say about each map individually. But I think my favorite thing about both of these maps is probably just the perk system. I know I'm not like crazy about the perk system, but I do like that the upgrades are actually in game, which I thought was a big improvement over what Cold War did with having the upgrades be out of the game. I don't know, something about it just having that progression of your perks throughout the match. It did suck having to go back to the machine every time you want to do it, but I do like it more than having it be an out of game, progression thing that's kind of permanent. I don't have that many things to say about Shi no Numa Reborn because although I think it's a fine map, it doesn't really do anything that special. It just also doesn't do anything that bad either. But I would like to say the Easter egg itself is probably my favorite thing about it. I just, it's a fun Easter egg. I don't think it's like that great of an Easter egg, but compared to anything else I could have said about this map, I just don't think it would really hold a candle to the Easter egg. So I'm just going to say the Easter egg is probably the best thing about the map. And for the Archon, I'm going to say the boss fight is actually pretty cool. I don't think it's one of the best boss fights ever, but it's a pretty cool boss fight. And there's a really fun Simon Says step within the Easter egg. I actually think this Easter egg is not that bad at all. Just like I said, Shi no Numa Reborn's Easter egg is fine. The Archon's Easter egg is pretty decent as well. They're actually quite underrated. I think they're probably better than most Cold War Easter eggs if we're going to be completely honest here. But yeah, that makes the most sense for me to say about the Archon. I don't think it's like a great map or anything, but I do think the Easter egg is decently fun. And for Operation Deadbolt from Modern Warfare Zombies, I'm just going to go with the worm boss fights. I know we've already had 3 of them, with the Act 3 worm boss fight, the Act 4 worm boss fight in the Dark Ether, and then of course the Red Worm boss fight, which you can just do within the map itself. I think they're kind of fun to do. They're not like the best boss fights ever, but they're fine. I enjoy them. They're pretty cool in their scale. So yeah, that's going to do it for this video. Those are my favorite things about every single Call of Duty Zombies map of all time. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.